Plain water after 60 might actually be the silent reason your hands are freezing and your minerals are flushing away. Discover the 6 ancient water infusions that act as immediate vasodilators. We are breaking down exactly what they are, including the one you must brew cold to protect its circulatory magic. Are you diligently drinking 8 glasses a day, but still feeling exhausted and numb in your extremities? The undeniable truth about hydration after your 60th birthday is that plain, unfortified water actively starts to work against your vascular system. Most medical advice demands you consume massive quantities of fluid to stay healthy. But let's look at how standard municipal tap water, or heavily purified bottled water, actually behaves once it enters your digestive tract. According to basic clinical hydration parameters, drinking enormous volumes of mineral-depleted liquid forces your kidneys to aggressively flush out essential electrolytes just to maintain baseline osmotic balance. That means the exact magnesium and potassium your arterial walls rely on to remain flexible are literally being washed away every single time you use the restroom. You force down another glass of water hoping to clear brain fog, yet your hands and feet inexplicably grow colder as the afternoon wears on. Your peripheral blood vessels become rigid and narrow simply because they lack the specific chemical signals required to stay open and actively pump warmth into your extremities. Plain water dilutes the very minerals your arteries need. The cycle of forced overhydration leaves you exhausted and numb. Stop relying exclusively on empty liquids and begin treating your daily water intake as a strategic delivery system for active vascular support this week. Picture sitting on a shaded porch in Okinawa during the sweltering heat of August, where you will quickly notice that almost no one over the age of 60 is drinking a simple glass of plain ice water. Instead, they pour Mugicha, a deeply roasted barley tea that is consumed by the gallon across traditional households throughout Japan. A landmark vascular study involving healthy volunteers demonstrated that regular consumption of roasted barley tea allowed human blood to flow exactly 22% more easily through microscopic vessels when directly compared to drinking standard unflavored water. When your blood achieves that specific level of fluidity, your heart no longer has to strain and struggle just to push oxygen down into your toes or up into your brain. Those tiny, delicate capillaries in your fingers, which so often feel like solid ice by midday, finally receive the warm, nutrient-dense blood they have been desperately starved of. You completely bypass that heavy, sluggish fatigue that typically ruins your energy right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Roasted barley physically changes how your blood moves. The viscosity drops, and your circulation immediately wakes up. Swap out your usual mid-morning glass of plain liquid for a pitcher of cold-brewed Mugicha to actively thin out sluggish circulation. The most fascinating insight about Mugicha is that raw barley grain possesses absolutely zero of these circulatory benefits until it physically hits a hot skillet. The intense heat of the traditional roasting process, which is typically done over medium heat for exactly 8 to 10 minutes, creates a highly specific group of protective antioxidants known chemically as alkylpyrazines. These powerful, heat-activated compounds specifically target your red blood cells and actively prevent them from clumping together into microscopic, dense, coin-like stacks that scientists refer to as Rouleau's formations. When your individual blood cells stop sticking to each other like wet glue, they can finally slip safely and efficiently through the absolute tightest arterial pathways in your entire body. You stop experiencing that frustrating tingling, pins and needles sensation every single time you sit in one position on the couch for slightly too long. Your entire vascular network begins to operate with significantly less internal friction, safely lowering the baseline mechanical stress on your aging cardiovascular system. Heat transforms raw grain into a vascular medicine. The friction disappears and the warmth finally returns. Purchase pre-roasted barley tea bags from any local Asian grocery market and steep one in hot water for 10 minutes to unlock these critical compounds. Long before modern blood pressure medications or synthetic vasodilators ever existed, traditional herbalists in ancient Kyoto relied heavily on a striking purple and green leaf to keep older generations incredibly vibrant through brutally harsh winters. That specific culinary herb is Shiso, sometimes officially referred to as Perilla, and a rigorous clinical study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science and Vitaminology proved its historical medical reputation. After exactly 8 weeks of consuming Perilla extract, older adults suffering from demonstrably poor circulation showed a massive 19% reduction in the specific inflammatory markers linked directly to severe arterial stiffness. Chronic, low-grade inflammation acts exactly like a heavy foot stepping firmly on a rubber garden hose, physically blocking the essential flow of life-giving oxygen to your furthest extremities. By aggressively crushing that underlying inflammation, your aging arteries physically relax and naturally widen, safely restoring normal pressure and warm volume to your heavy legs and aching feet. The brutal, painful stiffness you normally feel in your knee and knuckle joints every single morning begins to finally melt away as fresh, unhindered blood physically reaches those inflamed tissues. Chronic inflammation strangles your blood vessels completely closed. Shiso removes the blockage and lets the pressure drop. Steep 5 fresh shiso leaves in hot water with a tight lid to successfully trap the volatile anti-inflammatory oils. Unlike your standard morning cup of dark roasted coffee, which aggressively spikes your resting heart rate and actively constricts your peripheral blood vessels, this leafy infusion achieves the exact opposite physiological result. Shiso leaves are naturally packed with high concentrations of alpha-linolenic acid, a powerful plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that rigorous modern research confirms safely reduces dangerous platelet aggregation by approximately 14%. This crucial shift means the actual blood moving through your aging body becomes fundamentally less sticky, allowing it to easily navigate the microscopic vascular highways of your fingers without forming dangerous microclots. When your blood is naturally thin and highly slippery right after you first wake up, you completely avoid that terrifying, sudden morning dizziness that often happens when you stand up out of bed too fast. You can finally step away from your mattress with total physical confidence, knowing your vulnerable brain is instantly receiving the critical oxygen volume it demands. Sticky blood guarantees morning dizziness and freezing extremities. The natural plant oils safely lubricate your entire circulatory system. Drink your warm shiso leaf tea first thing in the morning on a completely empty stomach when your overnight blood is at its absolute thickest. Why is your aging blood practically guaranteed to be incredibly thick, highly sluggish, and stubbornly resistant to flowing properly during those difficult early morning hours? Over the course of a long, inactive night, your resting body steadily accumulates lactic acid and acidic metabolic waste products directly in your bloodstream, a fundamental biological problem the traditional Japanese umeboshi plum has successfully solved for over 1,000 years. When heavy cellular waste builds up in your delicate veins while you sleep, your blood becomes chemically acidic and dangerously viscous, dragging your overall peripheral circulation down to a miserable crawl. Clearing out that toxic, invisible overnight sludge allows your fresh red blood cells to literally zip through your tiny capillaries significantly faster, permanently stripping away the intense, heavy brain fog that completely ruins your early mornings. You will suddenly find yourself naturally filled with a bright, clean, sustainable energy long before you have even swallowed your very first bite of breakfast. Acidic overnight waste turns healthy blood into sludge. The intense sourness acts like a chemical reset button. Break a single authentic, strictly unsweetened umeboshi plum into exactly 8 ounces of warm water 20 minutes before eating absolutely anything else. If you're already feeling the warmth return just thinking about these daily rituals, hit the subscribe and like buttons below to join our community. We have 3 more incredibly powerful infusions coming up, including a common grocery root that acts as an instant vascular unlock key. The intense, puckering sourness of that authentic pickled plum is actually the exact chemical trigger your aging blood vessels desperately need to clear out dangerous metabolic plaque. Umeboshi is absolutely loaded with massive amounts of natural citric acid, and specific clinical trials examining adults over the age of 60 found that daily consumption improved overall blood flow velocity by exactly 18% while safely dropping systolic blood pressure by an average of 8 full points. Think of this concentrated, medicinal citric acid acting just like a highly gentle, natural drain cleaner for your entire cardiovascular system. When your blood finally flows with that optimized level of speed and significantly reduced physical pressure, the constant, low-level thumping headache you usually get in the late afternoon disappears entirely. Your resting heart rate beautifully stabilizes, your chest suddenly feels remarkably lighter, and you no longer have to worry about freezing cold hands embarrassing you during a simple greeting. Citric acid acts like a chemical drain cleaner. The sour shock wakes up your entire circulatory network. Start with half a plum per cup if the traditional taste is simply too intense, and slowly work your way up to utilizing a whole one over time. The absolutely most critical mistake well-meaning people make with ginger is incorrectly assuming that the old, dry powder sitting in their pantry works the exact same way as the raw, fresh root. Fresh ginger is deeply rich in a compound called gingerol, a highly powerful natural vasodilator that a rigorous clinical trial published in the journal Phytomedicine proved improved peripheral blood flow by 17% over 12 weeks in adults dealing with sluggish circulation. When fresh gingerol directly contacts your digestive system, it literally commands the tiny muscles lining your stiff blood vessel walls to physically relax and widen out immediately. You will actually feel this remarkable physiological shift happening inside your body within about 20 short minutes as a distinct, comforting warmth physically spreads down your arms and straight into your previously cold fingers. You completely stop needing to wear heavy, thick wool socks indoors just to keep your sensitive feet from going completely numb on cold hardwood floors. Fresh ginger forces your blood vessels to immediately relax. The warmth you feel is your circulation returning. Slice 2 inches of unpeeled fresh ginger root incredibly thin and gently simmer it for exactly 15 minutes to safely extract the active gingerol. While gently simmering fresh ginger safely unlocks its tremendous vascular benefits, applying that exact same intense heat to traditional kelp will completely destroy its single most valuable circulatory compound. Kombu is a remarkably thick, dark brown culinary seaweed that naturally contains a complex sugar molecule called fucoidan, which has incredibly been the sole subject of over 1,500 published marine biology and advanced medical studies regarding human vascular health. If you mistakenly boil this highly delicate seaweed on the stove, the extreme heat instantly degrades the fragile fucoidan and rapidly releases dangerously high levels of concentrated iodine directly into your water. But when it is gently extracted correctly in the cold, this medicinal complex sugar actively stops the specific clotting proteins that make your aging blood thick, dark, and dangerously slow. You actively protect your body from the heavy, terrifying risk of deep vein thrombosis while reliably ensuring your blood remains thin enough to effortlessly nourish your cognitive functions. Boiling delicate seaweed destroys its most powerful healing compounds. Cold water extraction safely preserves the fragile vascular medicine. Submerge a simple 4-inch strip of dried kombu in a glass jar of cold filtered water and leave it resting in your refrigerator for 8 hours. Decades ago, observant medical researchers noticed that elderly coastal populations living in rural Japan had virtually non-existent rates of hardened arterial plaque, a fascinating medical mystery eventually traced directly back to their daily kombu broths. A stunning, well-documented clinical trial tracking older adults officially revealed that consuming cold-infused kombu daily safely reduced highly dangerous LDL cholesterol levels by an impressive 15% in a mere 10 weeks of treatment. When sticky LDL cholesterol oxidizes deep inside your bloodstream, it aggressively latches onto your delicate arterial walls, rapidly forming rigid plaque that physically narrows the available passage for healthy blood to flow. By aggressively lowering the dangerous bad cholesterol, the natural fucoidan acts exactly like a heavy-duty street sweeper, keeping your primary arterial highways wide open and completely clear of dangerous cellular debris. You dramatically lower your terrible risk of experiencing sudden vascular blockages, allowing your heart to pump with a smooth, completely effortless rhythm that keeps you feeling young, energetic, and incredibly physically capable. Arterial plaque physically chokes off your critical blood supply. Fucoidan clears the physical roadblocks from your main arteries. Drink exactly 1 cup of this mild, savory cold brew on an empty stomach to sweep your arteries clean before your first meal. Imagine hitting that brutal 3 o'clock afternoon wall where your eyes feel incredibly heavy, your legs deeply ache, and your hands are absolutely freezing, but instead of reaching for coffee, you whisk up something entirely different. You prepare authentic ceremonial-grade matcha, which uniquely delivers the entire finely ground tea leaf directly into your digestive system, providing exactly 3 times the powerful concentration of epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, compared to standard steeped green tea. EGCG is undeniably the most fiercely studied natural vasodilator on Earth precisely because it triggers massive nitric oxide production, physically forcing your stiff, aging blood vessels to rapidly expand and widely dilate. When those constricted vessels suddenly pop wide open, a massive, healing rush of warm blood floods straight into your cold fingers and freezing toes, permanently erasing that miserable, heavy afternoon fatigue. You suddenly have the sharp, highly sustained physical energy required to happily work in your garden yard, comfortably play with your energetic grandchildren, and actively enjoy your evening without desperately needing a nap. Standard green tea throws away the most powerful medicine. Consuming the whole leaf delivers the ultimate vascular payload. Sift 1 teaspoon of bright ceremonial powder to remove bitter clumps and whisk it vigorously with water heated to exactly 175 degrees. How on earth are you realistically supposed to fit 6 different specialized waters into your busy daily routine without constantly feeling like you are running a full-time chemistry lab in your kitchen? The rigorous clinical trials achieving these truly remarkable vasodilation metrics, like the stunning 26% improvement in flow-mediated dilation seen in older adults drinking daily matcha, never once required human participants to consume all of these remedies simultaneously. You absolutely do not need to radically overhaul your entire life overnight just to effectively force the missing warmth back into your numb extremities and permanently lower your overall blood viscosity. By strategically choosing just one or two of these potent infusions to directly replace your standard glasses of plain, mineral-stripping water, you instantly give your aging cardiovascular system a massive mechanical advantage it hasn't physically felt in several decades. You completely drop the overwhelming mental stress of health perfectionism, seamlessly integrating a simple morning Shiso tea or a bright afternoon matcha into daily hydration habits you already currently possess. Trying to do everything at once guarantees you fail. Consistency beats extreme intensity every single time you try. Pick the single functional infusion that sounds the most appealing right now and strictly commit to drinking it daily for the next 3 solid weeks. Swap just one plain glass of water for these functional infusions to physically widen your arteries, significantly lower your blood viscosity, and finally pull radiant warmth back into your freezing fingertips. If you want to see exactly how your